Hi everyone, welcome to BrickVault. This is the Eagle 5 from Spaceballs. The Mel Brooks 1987 Star Wars parody was widely popular when it first came out and is still cherished by fans today. The Eagle 5 is a Wanderer's spacecraft piloted by two ruffian heroes, Lone Star and Barth. They are tasked with saving Princess Vespa from Lord Helmet and the evil Spaceballs, and her droid Dot is also along for the ride too. By an odd stroke of cosmic coincidence, the Eagle 5 looks strikingly similar to the 1986 Winnebago Chieftain 33. It's basically a motorhome with wings and space engines attached. As far as I'm concerned, that isn't such a bad vehicle though to travel through the galaxy, and this minifig scale model was wonderfully designed by the excellent builder David Zambito. And to move on to the next thing I want to talk about in this video, this clip is probably the best Segway, I think.
Spaceballs the t-shirt, Spaceballs the coloring book, Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the breakfast cereal, Spaceballs the flamethrower. The kids love this one. Last but not least,
Spaceballs the Lego set, the Eagle 5.
May the Schwartz be with you.
If you think you'd like to build this Lego model yourself, the instructions can be found at our web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. With each purchase, you receive the PDF step-by-step building instructions, a digital parts list that can be uploaded online to instantly order the parts that you're going to need, and as a fun extra, we also included the outline for the different minifigure parts that you're going to need to make all the characters if that's what you wanted to do as well. Let me know in the comment section below which pieces you think are present in each of these guys. None of them are custom prints. These are all parts from actual Lego minifigures that you can find, well, at least you can find them on Bricklink. There is this little micro build of the Eagle 5 too that we included a parts list and instructions for just for the heck of it, but let's focus now on the model at hand. To get an idea of how big it is, the Winnebago is about 4 inches high or roughly 9 centimeters, just under 18 inches long or 26 centimeters, and 13 inches wide, 33 centimeters. This, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't mean much, but what is really fun for us to do in the studio is to be able to compare the Eagle 5 with the rest of the minifigure scale mocks that we have, so you can see how the different vehicles and ships would look together in the same universe. It only makes sense that we would compare them with a bunch of the Star Wars ships that we have, but I couldn't help myself and I had to put it together with the big brother, basically what the Eagle 5 is supposed to be taking the place of from Star Wars, and that is obviously the Millennium Falcon. You can see the striking difference between the size, which is interesting to see, but we also had to set up a kind of awkward meeting. I had no idea how these characters would interact if they were to run into their comedy parody doppelgangers, so I did my best to guess. And also that Micro Eagle 5 I talked about earlier does scale with our other micro ships that we have instructions for as well. Right, now getting into the details of the build. This Winnebago, or this Eagle 5, is the only truly studless build I think we actually have instructions for, minus maybe the handle for the door getting into the side. Not that that's necessarily something we strive for. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to note though, and as far as I can tell, it is not missing any bits of detailing that you would want to have on this vehicle. There's a thin brown and dark tan stripe that run all along the sides and front of the car, while both the windscreen and windows along the front and sides of the car have been built in trans black. The front of the Winnebago has that obvious slant built into it that matches up with the same angle of the windscreen. You can also see an antenna, a couple of very loud horns, I would assume, and a build for a bumper as well as the larger side mirrors. I also think it was an excellent choice for the designer David to build up the edges or the sides of the Winnebago with those cheese wedge pieces, those little slopes that make a nice slant that match up well with the tile pieces that go all along the roof. As we move further back along the build, you can see 2 AC units and maybe a couple other little white tiles that represent some type of maintenance ports. And then with hardly a seam, the roof slopes down towards the wings. Looking at them dead on, you can see that there's a slight gap or space between those two sections that meet up towards the middle, and the whole look has been rounded over quite nicely with those 1x1 little corner tile pieces towards the back. Also looking at the actual back of the Winnebago, you can see that the brown lines have matched up just the same. The dish piece works quite well as a tire cover, and there's a white 1x2 plate that you could fill up with a sticker that says I Heart Uranus if you really wanted to. Here's a pretty good look at the back with the wingspan. I really do like the overall shape that we have here with the wings of the Eagle 5, and it's just been forever since I've seen a good use for those tall slope pieces that we have that make up the tips of the wings. Now, in terms of functions, you can open up the insides or certain parts of the insides of this vehicle, and for the front you have that one patch that you can take off, and then the front also comes off in a second little chunk so you can really see the interior where you've got Lone Star and Barf. I've sat them in the seats relatively loosely, but yeah, there's a little bit of space back where you can see a pail. There is a little small kitchenette, as well as an extremely narrow little walking hallway that leads to the changing room, if I'm not mistaken. Those little roof chunks fit on very nicely, and then there's also one little section in the back that opens up too. And excuse the lights being maybe a little bit overblown, but you can see Barf's fire hydrant that is his toilet because he's a dog. There's also lots of food containers because I think that's how the interior looked from the film, and due to the way the vehicle was constructed, it was easier to leave the middle and back sections closed off. Now, like all models in these episodes, let's pick this thing up and see how well it is constructed, how strong of a vehicle it is, and it's actually very easy to handle. It's built like a block. I mean, the main body of the shape is very much like a block, and it's solid like a block. From underneath, there's actually quite a bit of detailing that show a bit more of the undercarriage mechanical builds. So you can see the drivetrain, some exhaust, maybe gas tanks, I'm not entirely sure. And then the Winnebago also has a ladder that can come out from the bottom, because there's that one scene with the step ladder that comes down, I think pretty darn far for them to get into the ship from underneath. But I'm also just showing you a few more areas where you can kind of just pick up the model from just about anywhere. And before you ask, well, testing out the wings, you can hold it by the wings, but just barely, and you have to hold it just right. Honestly, the wings are strong, but obviously you can't pick up the model by the smaller extremity. All in all, it's super easy to move around, very, very swooshable, and I think if you were to handle this model on your own, I think you'd agree it's really fun and easy to move around. Now, once again, if you guys wanted to build this model yourself, it's absolutely an option. It totally could be a reality. We do sell the instructions at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. And remember, if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and please let us know what kinds of builds you want to see us do in the future. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.